More than 50 countries have reached out to the White House to initiate trade talks after reciprocal tariffs were imposed globally on trade partners of the United States. In fact, officials from Donald Trump's administration said they're actually defending the move amid this bloodbath at the US stock market after nearly $6 trillion in value has been wiped out. Trump officials, as we speak, are downplaying the economic fallout and defending the reciprocal tariffs' rocky implementation as the US president's advisors tried to portray tariffs as a savvy repositioning of America in the global trade order. Just listen in to what the US president had to say. We also have a reaction from the White House National Economic Council director. Listen in.
I spoke to a lot of leaders, European, Asian, from all over the world. They're dying to make a deal. But I said, we're not going to have deficits with your country. We're not going to do that, because to me a deficit is a loss. We're going to have surpluses, or we're at worst going to be breaking even. But China would be the worst in the group, because the deficit is so big and it's not sustainable.
If U.S. consumers are bearing the costs, there's no reason for the countries to be angry. So the fact is the countries are angry and retaliating. And, by the way, coming to the table, I got a report from the USTR last night that more than 50 countries have reached out to the president to begin a negotiation. But they're doing that because they understand that they bear a lot of the tariff.
So the Fed lowers interest rates.
It's not a strategy for the markets to crash. It is not a strategy for the markets to crash. It's a strategy to create a golden age in America for the American worker. That's his strategy.
To take this further, joining us live from New York at the moment, senior journalist Jake Novak. Jake, as always, thanks so much for making time for us. In his latest comments, Donald Trump has insisted that these tariffs are working, describing them as a beautiful thing to behold. He's also said he's spoken to a lot of Europeans and Asians who are dying to make a deal. So as we speak, Jake, is there any room for negotiation, keeping in mind that Trump's baseline tariffs have already kicked into effect?
Well, you'd think so, because everyone is having the pain. You know, if it were just the U.S. stock markets that were down and U.S. assets that were down, then there wouldn't be any room. Everyone would be enjoying this and watching it from afar. But every single market across the world, you just mentioned the Middle East markets and now the Asian markets have opened down. They're all going down because of these retaliatory tariffs. So it's in everyone's interest to get this solved somehow, to find some way to make another deal to reduce tariffs across the board. And if that means that the foreign countries that are dealing with the United States are going to have to drop some of the tariffs that they use to protect some of their older industries, they're going to have to tell those folks, sorry, our markets are crashing. We can no longer protect you anymore for whatever political connection you have. We have to protect our economies overall. So the fact that every single market that you just mentioned is down means to me that there is absolutely a very strong impetus to come to the table, because everyone's losing right now.
In fact, many experts also have a very pessimistic outlook. Thank you so much, Jake, for joining us with your views on the matter. Do stay on with us.